They didn't warn us. They didn't prepare us. They just said it. Right there. On live television. In front of millions of people watching Monday Night Raw, Adam Pearce walked out to that stage, no music, no fanfare, no theatrics, and he looked straight into that camera with the kind of expression you never want to see on a WWE official's face. And he said the words that made an entire arena go completely, devastatingly silent. Randy Orton is gone. Gone. And I need you to understand something before we go any further. This is not a storyline. This is not a work. What happened on Raw this week has shattered the entire wrestling world, and if you think you've seen WWE handle a moment like this before, I promise you have never seen anything like this. Because what they did to Randy Orton, what was allowed to happen to Randy Orton, is something that every single person watching this video right now is going to be furious about. And I mean furious. I mean the kind of anger that makes you want to flip a table, call your friends, and ask them, did you see what they just did? So lock in. Don't you dare click away. Because by the end of this video, you're going to have questions, you're going to have opinions, and you are going to need to drop them in the comments because the wrestling community needs to talk about this right now. Beat. Let it breathe. Let's go back. Let's go all the way back to just a few weeks ago, when Randy Orton the Viper, the 13-time world champion, one of the greatest professional wrestlers to ever lace up a pair of boots, was on what looked like an absolute collision course with WrestleMania 42 glory. The road to WrestleMania was paved with Randy Orton's name. The whispers backstage were getting louder. The online dirt sheets were buzzing. The fans in arenas across the country were chanting his name like a prayer, like a promise. This was supposed to be Randy's moment, his redemption arc, his triumphant return to the top of the mountain after everything he went through. The neck surgeries, the years on the shelf, the grueling rehabilitation, the comeback that made grown men and women cry in the stands because nobody believed it was truly possible. And then there he was, back, better, hungrier than ever. Randy Orton was going to WrestleMania 42. That was the plan. That was the story WWE was building. That was what every single one of us who watched that product believed with every fiber of our being. And then somebody decided to blow it all up. Intensity rising. Let me paint you the picture of what happened on Raw, because if you weren't watching live, you need to feel the weight of this moment. You need to understand the atmosphere in that building, the confusion on the faces of commentators who clearly were not fully briefed on the severity of what they were about to witness. The night had been building. There was tension backstage, the kind of tension that WWE cameras love to catch in those choppy backstage segments where lighting is bad and everyone looks like they're about to say something they're going to regret. And then it escalated. Fast. Faster than anyone could have anticipated. Before the referee could even process what was happening, before security could even respond, Randy Orton was on that floor, and the attack was brutal. That is not a word I'm using for drama. That is the only accurate word to describe what was done to the Viper. Repeated, calculated, vicious strikes. Not the kind you choreograph with a handshake and a smile backstage. The kind that looked even through a television screen like they carried genuine malice. Like someone had been waiting, planning, seething, and Randy Orton didn't get up. The arena went quiet. That eerie, horrible quiet that wrestling fans know too well, that silence that isn't excitement or anticipation, but something darker. Something real. Medical staff rushed the ring. Production cut away. And then we sat. We waited. We refreshed Twitter. We stared at our screens hoping for an update that everything was fine, that Randy was okay, that this was just part of the show. It wasn't fine. Building to the announcement. When Adam Pearce came out, and I want you to really picture this, he wasn't wearing a suit jacket. He wasn't holding a microphone with confidence. He looked like a man carrying something impossibly heavy. His face was drawn. His words were measured. He spoke the way people speak when the truth is so painful that even the act of forming sentences around it feels like violence. He thanked Randy for everything he gave to this business. He talked about sacrifice. He talked about legacy. He used past tense. Past tense. The crowd didn't know how to respond. Some booed, not out of disrespect, but out of grief. Out of the kind of helpless rage you feel when something you love is taken from you without permission, without warning, without a chance to say goodbye properly. Some fans were visibly crying. Cameras caught faces in the audience that mirrored exactly what millions of people watching at home were feeling. Disbelief. Sorrow. And underneath all of it, burning like a coal at the bottom of a fire, anger. Because here's the question that nobody on that broadcast asked, but every single person in that building and watching at home was thinking. How did this happen? And who allowed it? The accusation, the fire. Let me be real with you right now. Let me be the voice that cuts through the PR language and the carefully worded statements and says what actually needs to be said. There were warning signs. There are always warning signs, and in professional wrestling, a business that has seen too many tragedies, too many careers cut short, too many bodies broken by a system that sometimes values spectacle over safety, those warning signs get ignored. They get minimized. They get buried under TV ratings and pay-per-view berates and the relentless, grinding machine of weekly television production. Randy Orton came back from one of the most serious spinal injuries in the history of this industry. His return was miraculous. Doctors have literally used that word. The man spent years wondering if he'd ever compete again, and he pushed through it not because he had to, but because this business is in his blood. Because the Orton name is woven into the very fabric of professional wrestling. Because Randy didn't know how to be anything other than a warrior between those ropes. And what did he get for that sacrifice? What did he get for grinding through physical therapy and setback after setback and the psychological torment of watching his peers compete while he sat on the sidelines? He got back to WWE. He got back to the top. He got back to WrestleMania conversations. And then something took it away. You want to know what makes me angriest? It's not just the attack. It's the context of the attack. It's the fact that this could have been avoided. It's the fact that there are people in positions of power in this company who had information, who had responsibility, who had an obligation to protect one of their most beloved and most historically significant performers, and somewhere along the line, that obligation wasn't honored. WrestleMania 42, the fallout. Now let's talk about what this means for WrestleMania 42, because that's the other layer of this tragedy that people are going to be discussing for weeks, maybe months. WrestleMania 42 was shaping up to be one of the most stacked cards in recent memory. The kind of event that makes you take a full day off work, order every pizza in your zip code, and sit in front of your television like it's the greatest sporting event on earth, because for us, it is. The card was being built with intention, with storytelling, with the kind of long-term booking that fans have been begging WWE to commit to for years. Randy Orton was a centerpiece of that story. There was a match, a confrontation, a moment that was being teased and built with the kind of patience that this generation of WWE creative deserves genuine credit for. Fans had theories. The internet wrestling community was electrified. People who hadn't watched wrestling in years were tuning back in because the word was out this WrestleMania was going to deliver something special. And now the card has a hole in it the size of a legend. Now creative teams are scrambling behind closed doors, having emergency meetings, trying to figure out how to restructure a pay-per-view narrative that was fundamentally constructed around a man who is no longer available. There are superstars whose entire storyline trajectories have been altered overnight. There are title pictures that need to be redrawn. There are moments, big, emotional, earned moments that were designed specifically for Randy Orton and Randy Orton alone, that cannot simply be handed to someone else without losing everything that made them meaningful. This is not just a loss for Randy. This is a loss for the entire roster. For everyone who was going to share a WrestleMania stage with him. For every fan who had a ticket to that event and was counting down the days. The broader conversation. And I want to open up the bigger conversation now, because this moment, as painful as it is, demands it. We love professional wrestling. We have given this industry our time, our money, our emotional investment, our childhood memories, and our adult loyalties. We have defended it to people who called it fake. We have explained to skeptics why it matters, why the athleticism is real, why the storytelling can be just as powerful as any Hollywood production, why the connection between a performer and their audience is unlike anything else in entertainment. We love it. And because we love it, we are required to demand better. To demand that the people who make this product understand the weight of the human beings they are responsible for. To demand that warnings are heeded, that medical advice is respected, that the business of wrestling never, ever becomes more important than the health and safety and dignity of the wrestlers themselves. Randy Orton gave everything to WWE. Everything. His body. His health. Years of his life. A relationship with his family that was strained by the demands of the road. He gave it all. And the very least, the absolute bare minimum that this industry owed him was the opportunity to walk away on his own terms. To have his WrestleMania moment. To receive the kind of send-off that a performer of his magnitude deserved. Whether or not that's what happened here, whether this is the end or simply a dark chapter in an ongoing story, the conversation about how WWE treats its performers is a conversation we cannot afford to stop having. Because if we stop having it, nothing changes. And if nothing changes, we will be back here again, sitting in front of our screens, staring at the face of an official who looks like he's been asked to carry something no one should have to carry. Closing call to action. So here's where I'm leaving you. Randy Orton's status as of this moment is unclear. WWE has been characteristically tight-lipped, and the statements that have emerged have been vague enough to mean almost anything. The wrestling media is working their sources. The internet is exploding. Your timeline is flooded with takes, with tributes, with theories, with anger. And I want to know what you think. Do you believe WWE handled this situation responsibly? Do you think WrestleMania 42 can recover from this blow? And most importantly, do you think Randy Orton deserved better? Not just from this moment, but from this entire industry that he spent his life building? Drop it in the comments. Every single thought. Don't hold back. This is a community, and right now on a week like this, the community needs to process this together. If this video hit you the way it hit me making it, share it. Send it to your wrestling friends. Post it. Because Randy Orton's legacy deserves to be talked about. His name deserves to be in every wrestling conversation happening right now. Don't forget to subscribe to Ring Rumble 1 and hit that bell, because when moments like this happen, you need a channel that isn't going to sugarcoat it, isn't going to spin it, and isn't going to pretend that everything is fine when everything is absolutely, heartbreakingly not fine. We'll have more updates as they come. Until then, stay loud, stay passionate, and never stop loving this crazy, beautiful, brutal sport that somehow keeps breaking our hearts and bringing us back for more. This is Ring Rumble 1. We'll see you in the next one.